Hi, I'm Jazz Tangcay. Hi, I'm Jazz Tangcay. I'm Artisans Editor at Variety. I am so thrilled to be here on this Friday evening with an incredible panel in front of me. And let me just introduce everybody. I've got songwriters, DJ Camper, Nova Wave, and filmmaker Erika Cohn and Kelli Dillon to discuss Belly of the Beast, and more importantly, to talk about Mary J. Blige's contribution. There's a song in the song, "See What You've Done." She performs the song. She co-wrote the song in collaboration with record producer and songwriting duo Nova Wave, aka Blue and Chi, and of course DJ Camper. And Erika is one of Variety's 10 documentary filmmakers to watch, well, from 2017, and here she is with her third movie, Belly of the Beast. So I'm so excited to welcome you all here tonight. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I think before we get started with the conversation, let's have a look at the trailer so everybody knows what we're going to be talking about.
There is a culture of secrecy in California.
I have some fear. What kind of repercussions will I get for coming on and talking about this?
I've always been a fighter, but it wasn't truly birthed until I was in prison.
They did a pelvic exam.
He said I had a fibroid.
I was told that I had cancer cells.
When I came out, I felt like something was wrong.
We were getting hundreds of letters about medical abuses every month.
When was the first time a doctor told you that you may be missing your ovaries?
No one ever told me that.
I had been intentionally sterilized, and I had been lied to.
The law prohibits sterilizing people in prison for the purpose of birth control, but they were doing it anyway.
One of the challenges with this story is you ultimately have to get to intent. And then that's when the doctor said, well, that's cheaper than welfare.
I was looking at these documents that was confirming, as a Black woman, my life wasn't shit.
What's going on?
I was very much intimidated by whom I was going up against.
The state has admitted that they have done these illegal surgeries, but we don't actually know who they did them on.
Names become numbers. You don't get names. And that's what makes it easy to abuse them.
Women in California being coercively sterilized is absolutely revolting.
After all this pain, I'll never be the same.
We have yet to get an apology. We have yet to be acknowledged. The state has to be made accountable.
'Cause some wounds never heal. Do you see what you done?
Wow. I just get goosebumps just seeing that trailer and hearing Mary's song. But the one thing I do want to say to the audience tuning in, please send your questions. We will be taking them throughout this conversation. Erika, this has been 10 years in the making for you. Let's just go back. Like, how did you first hear about Kelli and her story?
I first just have to say, I have chills too every time I hear the song, every time I watch the trailer. I just, I'm profoundly struck by the and by Kelli's strength and the incredible talent that Camper and Nova Wave and Mary J. Blige have brought to this project. And this is the release day of the film and the song. And it is a long time coming. And I want to thank everyone who has been involved. And Just really take a moment to say thank you to our incredible team and our incredible music supervisor that brought us all together. This is literally the dream team. And I'm endlessly grateful to all of our producers, music supervisor, and also composer who we're channeling this evening. So this film, as you mentioned, started in 2010 when I was introduced to attorney Cynthia Chandler. And I was really inspired by her work, in particular, Justice Now's Let Our Family Have a Future campaign, which worked to expose the many ways that prisons destroy the basic human right to family. One of the most heinous, of course, being the illegal sterilizations, primarily targeting women of color. And of course, that screamed eugenics to me. As a Jewish woman, the phrase "never again" was always in the back of my mind. And when I learned about this different kind of genocide that was occurring through imprisonment, that was occurring through sterilization behind bars, I knew I wanted to get involved. And so Cynthia invited me into the organization as a volunteer, and I became a volunteer legal advocate providing direct service needs for over 150 people in California's women's prisons. And I didn't have the opportunity to meet Kelli until a couple years into the process. And at the time, Kelli was working in Los Angeles as a community interventionist, doing gang intervention work and domestic violence prevention work, and was so inspired by her activism. And we began kind of collaborating on a variety of different projects, one of which was Belly of the Beast. And initially, she became involved as an advisor kind of behind the scenes. And then kind of a year later, when the Center for Investigative Reporting really launched and had a lot of momentum building to a series of hearings at the California legislature, that was kind of the moment that we both talked about centering the story around her. And I'll let Kelli talk a little bit more about that process as well.
Thank Kelli, you. Go ahead. I mean, how are you, first of all, how are you doing?
You know, so here's the thing. When Erika began filming, you know, doing the documentary and everything, I wasn't ready to come out just yet. I wasn't ready to tell my story because I was really afraid that how I would be judged. You know, it was a course of things that had happened in my life in which I had stood for justice, looking for compassion, looking for sympathy throughout the judicial system, throughout different things in my life, and I was never received that. So I felt that in me telling this story, people would say, oh, well, that's what she get, or that's what prisoners get. And I wasn't ready to get that kind of negative feedback when it took everything for me to just hold myself together to even make it out of prison. You know what I'm saying? And so, but her compassion, her understanding, her respect of space and time and patience with me is what made me say, you know what, she's really about what she says. Because, you know, I always said I try not to be too involved, but I'm hood, right? And credibility is everything. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be not bullshit, because we can see bullshit a mile away. Sure. And so she wasn't. She was straight, authentic, and so that made me trust her. You know, and so it made me trust her with my story. And I'm so glad that I did, and I'm so glad that the universe sent her to me, because she did an excellent job of turning an ugly story into something beautiful. You know what I'm saying? And highlighting the best of out of a messed up situation. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for me because I'm trying not to cuss. I'm usually cussing on a daily basis, so please forgive me. So I'm trying to use the word. I'm in the trenches. I'm in the trenches in LA, so I gotta watch my tone and my words. But she took something that was really ugly. An ugly time in my life, and through her artistic abilities and talents, along with Angela Tucker and Nicole, they created something beautiful. So I'm grateful.
Yes.
Yeah. Something else that is incredibly beautiful, and we get a snippet of it in the trailer, but if you go on Spotify, it is out there, is Mary J. Blige's beautiful song about resilience and strength, which is really, Kelly, what you personify. Let's go back. I mean, how did Mary J. Blige get involved in this? I don't know. DJ Camber, do you want to take it, or, you know?
The queens can go ahead first.
You know, Mary is just, we've known Mary for maybe what, 2-3 years?
Yeah, maybe like 2 or 3 years.
And literally, she is the queen. Not only is she the queen of R&B, but she's the queen of love. Sometimes Mary will just text us and check in on us,
right?
Check in how we're doing.
Yeah.
So it's only right that she's the face of this. So, you know, honestly, we got the call, and
she called us and told us she was working on a project and she needed us and wanted us to be a part of it. And I mean, of course, we were like, absolutely. Like, where do we start? When do we start? And we just started, you know, working on ideas together alongside Camp to make sure that, you know, we told the story, you know, the right way. So it was just that easy. Yeah, it was easy.
Yeah, it was very simple, you know, because it's like when 2 or 3 are gathered and are on one accord with everything that's happening, you know, for us writers, songwriters, producers, all we need is a story. And all we need is just a blueprint of how you want us to tell your story, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's like we get all of all of the formula and all of the recipe to create greatness and to create history. We're just saying it from your perspective, but we're doing it musically. You know, when words can't speak, that's when we come in and we provide that soundtrack for that. So, you know, just thank you for, again, you know, having us be a part. You know, we ain't want to miss the opportunity. And, you know, Mary called me, Mary called, you know, the queens, and, you know, together collectively we came together and we made it happen.
And it came together in the pandemic. Like, talk about like how long the songwriting process took, the music process, and then I want to hear Erika's reaction to the first time she heard the song.
When was that session, Queens? When did we do that?
It was months ago.
Couple years ago?
It was months ago. It was
kind of months ago.
Yeah, it was months ago. It was kind of like pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it was pre-pandemic. So.
Yeah, and then we did go back and forth tightening things up with Erika and Tracy, and and with Cam, and just to really make sure that we were spot on with what we needed to convey.
Yeah.
So
and it didn't matter to us how many edits we had to make. We were like, okay, we're gonna make each edit because we want to make sure this thing is right. You know, it has to be right because it meant a lot to us, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So this was different than all the other songs we've ever been a part of.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've worked with Mary in the past. You know, I've done Thick of It and, you know, Glow Up and, you know, Love Yourself and things like that. So like all Mary is about, you know, she understands this, you know, like she's the queen for many reasons. She wears a lot of hats and she's very special, and she's that voice of reason when it comes down to just, you know, just being that strong Black woman, you know, just being that woman of power, just and empowering us, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it was just beautiful. You know, we just tapped right back into that vibe and, you know, went crazy.
Yeah. Erika, for you, were you involved in the songwriting process at all?
Me?
Of the song? No, Erika.
I was involved in that. I had an opportunity to give feedback, and we had a lot of team creative calls, and Camper and I actually spent an evening in LA together working in the studio, which was really incredible. I was able to see kind of
I remember that.
happen.
Yep.
But I think this was an incredibly collaborative process that took place over a couple of phone calls where we talked about, at this point, when the songwriting process began, the film was not 100% done. And so we were crafting the ending of the film and trying to walk a very fine line between inspiring audiences to create change, but also leaving audiences with a heavy message that the work is not yet done. This is not wrapped up in a bow. This is not, as Kelli says, like, she hasn't had her happy ending yet. Like, happy ending has to happen, and we all have to mobilize and get behind the reparations movement. So that kind of the balance of the celebrating the ending of the film and the work that Kelli and Cynthia are still doing, and yet the heaviness of the fact that there has not been justice and systemic racism and eugenics is still going on, and that there has to be accountability. So I was grateful to be able to have those really deep conversations throughout the process, and the song actually kind of helped us craft the end of the film, which is a really unique process.
Yeah. Kelli, with lyrics like "What's going on when the world can decide if a caged bird flies or ever gets a chance to grow, and it's a problem, how can we ignore what's going on?" With lyrics like that, what was it like for you hearing the song for the first time?
Right. Well, for me, I when I was listening, it took me a moment to get over the fact that Mary J was singing it. I'm gonna go back and say that. But once I asked Erika to play the song again, it was crazy how I felt that the writers, and as well as Mary herself, was able to capture in words my life. Like my life, like, why do I have, like, I gotta keep on fighting, you know, and it's been one fight after another. And even though we kind of touch on some of my personal story in the film, but it's just the way the words and just the way it was written. It just seemed like it was just written, even though I know it was other survivors on the film. I know that I share in this moment with my sisters who are also looking for justice. But I gotta be honest, and I gotta speak for me right now. I felt that those words was written for me. Like, it was a way of, like God had gave that back to me. Like I felt that he was saying, I see you and I hear you. And I, you know, and so I'm just gonna say it like that. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But the words, I'm trying to stay not choked up, but I just want to say thank you that you took the time out to look at the film and then draw from it the pain, the passion, the purpose, that you were able to draw all those things out of the film to create the language and the words to really be the theme for the whole entire movement. So I appreciate you for that. Yeah.
You're very welcome.
Yes,
You, before we started, you know, Mary J. Blige meant so much to you. Do you want to share the story of how she got you through so people can understand why you just said what you said? Like,
so if so to the people, as well as if Mary is listening, like, I've had every one of her albums throughout prison, right? I did 15 years in prison. I did 15 years in prison behind defending myself from my abuser. I was raped when I was a young girl. I was a teenage mom, you know. So I had all of those issues going on with me prior to me even getting into prison. And so every time, you know, we all say this and the world says this, but Mary has a song at the moment that's speaking to the women and what they're going through. And so by me having a lot of her CDs in prison, a lot of people, when they be going through things, I say, hey, listen to this song. Listen to this song by Mary J. Just put it on your headphones. And we've done praise dances for in prison for her songs. And, you know, to her songs and everything, we've done little talent shows and stuff we've had. And so Mary J was the voice for women, especially women of color, behind the walls, because we know that most women, when they are incarcerated, they usually go into prison incarcerated due to some form of trauma. You know what I'm saying? So and music is what soothes us while we're incarcerated. So whether if it's gospel, whether if it's rap, and we feeling like we just ready to tear this whole place down, or whether if it's love and loss of love or wanting love. And Mary J was one of the ones that soothed us while we were in prison. Yeah.
What is that like hearing that? Like, you know, DJ Camper and Blue and Chi, what?
We
like
love you,
hearing
Mary.
What I will say is there's no such thing as a coincidence. You literally brought that into your universe, and for her to be, you know, a voice of reason, it only makes total sense.
Yep.
So it all comes together in the end for sure.
Yeah. And I think definitely that was God's way of saying, I hear you, I see you, you know. And I'm happy that you got to have that tribute, you know, to you.
Yeah.
As I'm looking at every one of you guys, DJ Camper, Nova Wave, as I'm looking at all you guys, along with just hearing Mary J voice in my head, it's like I couldn't have got a better team, and I couldn't have got a better gift. Belly of the Beast couldn't have got a more doper crew to bring it the way y'all brung it.
Let's
and
go.
My spiritual mother, you know, I have a spiritual mom that I met in prison, Evangelist Georgia Horton, and she said, baby, this is one of them songs that from years to come, it's not gonna lose its power. You know what I'm saying? She said it's not gonna lose its power. She said a lot of stuff come and go. She said, but this is a song that was packed with power. And so, you know, I just want to say thank you. I'm telling you, Belly of the Beast, our team, we've been bananas since we go.
Let's go. Let's shake up the world.
Let's talk about some of the music brainstorming sessions. Like, how did you land on like the lyrics and the rhythm? This is actually a question that came in, which.
You want me to answer it?
Go for it.
So like, yeah, it's just a process. Like, you know, I think the first day, I don't know how many days we did. Like, I think we did like how many days? Like 4 days?
Like 3 or 4 days, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So like, I always, as a producer, you know, I just come prepared. You know, when I know I'm having a session, I make music for that, like just like for that. You know what I'm saying? So that way I come prepared, so I can just press play and have about 3 or 4 joints ready, you know, to roll. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, so now I'm playing beats, you know, and I'm playing beats, and you know, they're crazy, everybody's going crazy. But now it's like shopping. It's Gucci, it's Louis, it's Fendi, it's Prada, it's all these things, right? But we need something that's going to tailor fit the occasion. So once Nova Wave, the Queens, you know, they picked, boom, you know, like Mary was like, yeah, this is it. You know what I mean? I would say something else, but we lied, you know? She's like, yeah, this is it. You know what I mean? This is it. I'm like, all right, word, this is it, let's go. And then from there, the lovely ladies, they begin to brainstorm and talk and to converse and to really just connect and understand, you know, like where the heart is at, what we doing. And then, you know, around that time, I'm kind of like, you know, kind of leaving the premises, you know, I'm out. Yeah, you got it. I got it. Cool. You know, and then I come back in and, you know, listen to the words and the lyrics and the melodies. And it's like, oh my God, this is incredible, you know? So we kind of just go back and forth with each other, and, you know, we just sculpt it out.
I love that. It's not just Mary's song, it's also the score that plays throughout the movie, the documentary. Like, you know, when we get to Courtney Hooks' scene, and I've mentioned this to you before, Erika, is like, you notice how the score suddenly gets more urgent. Like, talk about what you wanted the score to say on top of, you know, this incredible song.
I think, I mean, Omar Fidel is one of the most brilliant composers out there, and I'm lucky to have worked with him in the past as well in my previous films, and will be working with him, I'm sure, in the future as well. But we always have these conversations. I work also as a music editor, and we work with kind of a musical suite to begin with, and then I take the stems and kind of put things together. Feels a bit repetitive at the beginning, that kind of underlines the entire film, and then we go back and we score to picture. He scores to picture, and Omar just brought such a nuanced perspective to this, because it's a fine line between creating a sense of urgency, creating a sense of tension, and overdoing it, and also not wanting to underscore or trivialize anyone's experience. So it took a long time to kind of find the musical sound of this film, but it's part investigative, part, Kelly, part Cynthia. Each of them have their kind of own sound in the film. And also you see parts of the outside world, really, in the social media section. It actually changes and shifts perspective. And so throughout the process, we were really playing with perspective. When Kelly testifies, it's actually shifting from the perspective of us as viewers, the perspective of audiences, to Kelly's inner monologue. And that's also what I feel like is so beautifully done in the kind of ending of the film too, that, both the score and this incredible song by Camper and Nova Wave and Mary J. It's like, yes, this is what draws you as audience, but this is also in Kelly's head. This is Kelly's perspective, Kelly's story. And so it's, I think both the score and this, and See What You've Done do that very successfully.
Yeah. I mean, it's 2020. Sadly, we are having conversations about systemic racism, healthcare. During a pandemic, as a Brit, in case you can't tell from the accent, I've been here going, why can America not get healthcare figured out? What is it like to be releasing a film where we're all sitting here virtually instead of like in some amazing like theater after the premiere of your movie? Like,
I think in some ways that having it released digitally increases accessibility. So I'm actually very happy about this. I mean, I wish I could be with all of you on this panel in person celebrating the song and the film. And yet the opportunity to reach, thousands more people, I think is really important in this moment when eugenics is alive and well. As you mentioned, we're witnessing systemic racism and population control through policing, through imprisonment, through our immigration detention system, through lack of access to healthcare. And so I feel like Belly of the Beast is a part of the broader conversation that really highlights these injustices and calls for immediate accountability and redress. I know Kelly has a lot of thoughts on this too. We've talked a lot about the timing of the film and the importance of releasing it in this moment. We actually moved up our release date to ensure that the film was accessible during this moment.
Kelly, did you want to add to what Erika just said?
Yeah. As Erika said, that we were a little frustrated last year about the release of the film and trying to get it out. Yeah. But I told Erika to just trust the process, like it's a birthing, right? Just trust the process as to when this needs to be birthed into the world. So when COVID-19 hit, we were like, oh my God, like, we were supposed to do the premiere, these things is happening. But I told Erika, I said, nah, I feel like this couldn't have happened at a better time, because now we're talking about marginalized communities, disproportionate medical care for people of color, how that looks on the other side with COVID-19. And then the civil unrest started happening around with defunding the police. And then right at the brink of the true release of the film, then we had Don Wooten, the whistleblower, come out in Georgia detention center, ICE detention centers, to talk about how sterilizations and the process of that hidden racism and practices and eugenic practices is happening on the other side of our nation. which confirms what we've been trying to bring to the world and to the light for the last 10 years. Right. So I just felt like, I'm gonna keep saying it again, I just felt that we were allowed to just allow timing, destiny, you know, have its way. And so with that being said is that it couldn't have been at a better time for us to address these multiple layers of issues, and which have been, I think I'm gonna say it best with Corey Johnson, how he opens it up. He said there's a hidden culture of racism that happens in the most liberal states, as well as the way our nation is looked at as a liberal nation. It's time for the things that have gone on in the dark after civil rights movement, after slavery, to now be exposed. We have racism around the neck right now. We pressing a line on law enforcement, and part of law enforcement is corrections. And so we have to look at it from both sides.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well said.
Well, exactly. Well said. I think, and Neverwave, I'm just going to go back a little bit. You know, you said working on this song was unlike anything you'd ever done before. Like, how was it different? And talk about why it was so important for you to be a part of Belly of the Beast and the song.
Well, just us as Neverwave, honestly, we literally wrap everything, our whole beings around everything that we do musically. So we approach everything out of love. Mm-hmm. So of course,
and urgency.
Yeah. So of course we're just gonna connect with the story, and then on top of that, being women of color, knowing that we're one zip code away from being Kelly, we're one decision away from defending our trauma, like she said, right, from being her. You know what I mean? So just really, really just connecting with, you know, our sister at the end of the day, and just all the women in the film. You know, it was just such an honor to just be a part.
Yeah. Erika, in terms of the film coming together, you know, you're going inside a system that is hidden, you're exposing a story. Like, how easy or difficult was it for you, like, you know, and obviously working with Kelly, to get access and obtain what you obtained to tell the story?
Well, I've spent the past decade examining human rights abuses, including forced sterilization in California's women's prisons, as both a legal advocate and as a filmmaker. And as Kelly mentioned, you know, the levels of secrecy and privacy that these institutions hide behind, it's incredibly difficult to uncover abuses of power and state-sponsored violence. So we didn't have the access that we wanted to have. But I think it's important to note that the film the entire way was made in collaboration with people inside. And it's their lived experiences that you hear. Actually, a part of the Mary J. Blige conversation about who would people want to be the musical voice of this film. It was like everyone hands down said, we got to get Mary J. You know, so you know, from major decision making about how the process went, including Kelly being an advisor to the film in the early years and being an active participant in the filmmaking process as we've been together for a better part of a decade, but also kind of discussing how we were going to visualize aspects that we didn't have access to. So, you know, for many people, prisons are so far out of sight, you know, out of our minds, out of our consciousness, so far from our physical reach that we're rarely granted access to worlds behind bars that aren't sensationalized or dramatized. So we really wanted to reimagine how we visualize imprisonment and find imagery that evokes memory and passage of time and really places viewers in these uncomfortable, vulnerable spaces. So like the exam room table with the legs dangling, the shower drain during Kelly's recollection of what was going on for her, from the first person POV shot, being handcuffed to a gurney, being wheeled into surgery, what those experiences might be like. So that process of recreating the imagery was so carefully advised by people with direct experience with all of this. And Kelli actually was on her way to shoot some of the recreations with us before our team, our recreations team, we shot this like a fiction film, recreating a lot of these moments. Our team ended up getting norovirus, big stomach bug. So so Kelli lucked out by not participating.
Somebody's has asked the question, like, what are some songs from other movies that have really stood out and made an impact on you? Kelli, let's start with you and let's go around.
You know, I don't laugh, right? But the score that really always goes in my head is da 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 da.
Hey, to my Rocky, Rocky. Hey,
I hear that. Well, I know. I love Hollywood. I said that in the film, but that is one of the one of the songs that stand out to me. Is that score? It's just a powerful score for me, and I've heard it in certain moments of my life. Don't think I'm crazy, but I've heard it in some moments of my life. And, yeah. And another song that moves me and made me cry when is "The Heart Goes On" by Celine Dion from the Titanic.
Yes.
So that right there is it's just a passionate like love and it just talk about like how love never dies, it never fails, that you know, it can only evolve, we can only build on it. And so I used to sing it and my roommates be like, please Kelli, come on now, like shut that down. But those two songs right there, you know, that's the white girl in me.
Yeah, nah, for sure.
The white girl in me loves that song. Those are two.
DJ Camp is laughing, and I'm like, no, now it's your turn. Like, tell us.
Kelli, I love you. Love you, fam.
What are your songs or scores?
Whose turn is it?
Yours.
Okay. Don't laugh at me either. You know what I mean? I got many, but like what jumped to my mind right now is Space Jam, right? At the end of Space Jam, when Michael Jordan won, like he beat, I think he had to do something. Oh yeah, the game. They won the game, right? So like they took him home. He had a baseball game, right? You remember? He had a baseball game that night. Everybody's like, yo, where's Michael at? Where's Michael? Where's Michael? Everybody, right? So the spaceship comes down, lands in the middle of the baseball field, and I Believe I Can Fly is playing. I Believe I Can Fly is one of the greatest songs to me ever. And then that placement for that part of the movie to me was like crazy. So
love it.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, Neverwave, your turn.
I would say I can't remember exactly what part of the movie it was, but I Will Always Love You in The Bodyguard.
Oh,
I think it's a timeless song. Yeah, it's just, I'm a lover of love, so I don't know. I just that's the one I would choose for sure.
Hired.
Nice, classic. I would have to go with the soundtrack of Waiting to Exhale. I think
that's
it
great.
just conveys every single emotion of a woman, and just it's everything.
That's actually a good choice.
Everything.
Thanks.
That's amazing. Erika, you're gonna have to go away and like make a Belly the Beast Spotify playlist from everybody's favorites, right?
No, I'll send you all a playlist after.
Yeah, let's do it.
What is your favorite?
I think it's so hard. I will tell you, one of the big inspirations for the score of this was, I have to shout out our composer again, Omar Fidel. He scored this incredible film called Taquacores, and it has this incredibly unique sound That's it's kind of like a combination of some like Middle Eastern music, some like heavy metal, some punk, and it was just so innovative. That's actually how I found Omar's work to begin with. And so I love scores that transport you into a totally different world and have such a unique sound that is not necessarily typical like movie music, that really is unique to the film.
Right.
Yeah. We're in the middle of a really, really important election. As we sit here, there is a seat on the Supreme Court that is, probably going to roll us back another million years. But what is the one thing you want, or you're hoping for, to come from people who see this film, especially like in this current climate that's we're all, who knows where we'll be, which way this is going to go in 3 weeks time. Erika, do you want to start?
Sure. In the making of this film, it was very important for me to connect current events, like what you see in the film, what we're seeing in ICE detention facilities, with the legacy of forced sterilization in the United States, and to really help audiences understand that forced sterilization is genocide and is deeply rooted in white supremacy. And we are literally at the precipice of being able to create lasting change. And so if we confront our eugenics history and we hold our institutions and state actors who have committed these harms accountable, I really believe that we can prevent a new genocide from happening. And one of the ways that people can do that, obviously, find ways to challenge white supremacy in your communities, get out and vote. There's a lot of conversation about, what we saw in ICE detention facilities, and we actually have a conversation with the whistleblower Don Wooten on Sunday to talk about that, what happened there, and kind of connect it with the historical legacy of forced sterilization. But to really, people are talking about this as a worst case scenario. This is not worst case scenario. It could get a lot worse. So please get involved, get out and vote. And on our website, you can actually get involved by signing a petition for reparations for forced sterilization survivors. And I believe that will not only continue to make amends for the historical sterilizations that have happened following in the footsteps of North Carolina and Virginia, the first two states to pass reparations movements, but also to ensure accountability for modern day instances of eugenics and of forced sterilization, so that what happened in California, what happened in the ICE detention facilities in Georgia don't continue to happen.
Yeah. Kelly, did you want to add to?
Yeah, so even Erika did a great job at sharing, some of the main focus and what we want people to be moved to action to take away from the film. But I'm going to speak to the survivors out there. So that's who I want to speak to right now. And I want the survivors to know that there can be purpose in pain. There can be purpose in pain. And that in you being empowered to not be afraid or intimidated by sharing your story, you get to take the power back in it. You get to write the narrative. You get to shape how people respond to what happened, or what happened to you. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted people to see that. I just wanted the survivors to know that there's life after the trauma. There's life after that incident, and that you can pick up the pieces and begin to recreate a whole new picture, a whole new life, And so I just wanted to share that also what Erika was saying, but really right now our fight is the fact that we're trying to seek compensation or reparations for the survivors in the state of California. And I know that when people hear reparations, they hear compensation, they immediately think, oh, you know, money, right? Because that's the easiest thing. But part of it is that what we're fighting for is for the state to release, not to the public, but more so be accountable to the names of the hidden victims that they have, and to be able to notify them of what was done to them. And also for California to make a public statement of accountability and apology, and also to create an honor, like maybe a memorial space for the survivors of the sterilization. So here's the thing, we're not just talking about the 144 that we found in that short period of time, or the 1,400 over this last 10 or 12 year period, but just understand it, it's been about 35,000 sterilized individuals in the state of California from 1920 up until 2014 that we know of. 35,000 African-American, predominantly African-American and Latino women, predominantly women of color. So that's what we're going after, for them to acknowledge that history and to try to make accountability for it.
Yeah. And they can go to the website and sign the petition to get, that's the one thing, everybody that's tuned in today, you know, it takes what, a minute to literally go on to the website, add your name to it, sign the petition. Nova Wave and Camper, like, you know, what do you want people to take from the song, which, you know, just to go back, you know, and Kelli has been, you know, just everything you've said is about your strength. You are a hero, you know, you speaking up, you are so brave, like, you know, and it's all just captured in the song, and just seeing, you know, spend the last hour with you. But for the song, like, what do you want people to take from it?
I definitely think we want people to like Kelli said, there's purpose in the pain, you know, and that there's triumph as well. And, you know, that there's a responsibility for us creatives to really take our craft seriously. And, you know, and we wanted to make sure that we gave that pain a voice, you know, and thank you, Kelli, so much just for your transparency and just for being available, you know, because I know that was a hard thing to do. And, you know, thank you, Erika, for the film. It's super powerful because it was something that we didn't even know about before now. So just as creatives, you know, I just think it's our responsibility to really take our craft seriously and just, you know, hone in and make, you know, bring it to life, bring the,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just the fact that we're not alone. Kelli, you're not alone, you know? Like, Erika, you're not alone. Jazz, you're not alone. Nova, Camper, we're not alone. And we overcome by the words of our testimonies also.
Yeah.
So it just takes one spark, one something. And then for somebody to be like, oh, me too. There's, oh, you too? Now it's a spark. And then now it spreads like wildfire. Like, you know, it's good to get it out and to have it out so, you know, people can understand that they're not alone. And the way that we did it, God knows it. God, I feel like all of this, like on like for real, I feel like all of this was ordained, because it's not coincidence that fam, Kelli, you know, you had MJB all over like your playlist, you know, as you were going through. And it's not a coincidence that we're all here together, you know, sharing your story, providing you everything that you need to take your story and go crazy with it, because the world needs it at a time like this. People are struggling in the pandemic right now, losing their jobs, losing their homes, their loved ones, whatever, right? And it's crazy. And, you know, we actually have the time where people are looking for something, and we have it to give them now. So we thank God for that.
Amen.
And it's the simplest things that you don't even recognize that, especially for those that are in prison or coming out of prison or coming out of some form of oppressive situation or domestic violence, just a kind word or just a look or hug of compassion can can save a life. It can save a life. And so to me, for you guys to watch the film and be moved, you know, especially when we feel like the world has become heartless and, you know, we don't feel each other, and we, you know, we hear a lot of negativity also within our own community about how we respond to one another and the things that's going on. So to have a team of strong Black men and women to come together in this piece and to be moved, it's giving me hope, you know, for our culture, for our race, for our culture, for our people. It's also giving me hope, you know, that we still love one another. We still feel for one another. So I thank you for that.
All love.
Kelly, I thank you. I think everybody tuning in would give you a massive group hug if they could. Erika, thank you so much for, you know, spending the time, the 10 years, telling the story. Kelly, Nova Wave and DJ Camper. I mean, music is you know, it heals the soul. It's a beautiful song. The song, you can stream it on Spotify or Apple Music. It is out. Seek it out. Let it lift you and inspire you. And Belly the Beast is out on virtual cinema today. So encourage everybody to go see it and sign the petition. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Jazz, for being with us and sharing the space, and Camper and Nova Wave, just so grateful for this collaboration. And Kelly, you know, the longest term collaborator along with Cynthia Chandler, give her a shout out on the project. And also our amazing team of producers, Angela Tucker, Nicole Docta, Kristen Marquez, and also Eddie and Tracy, who connected this dream team. So privileged to share this space with you all.
Yes. We love you, Mary.
Big love, team.
Love y'all.